Welcome back, friends. We are in the midst of um, Isaiah chapter 1. Um, Micah, would you mind if would you pick up, start in verse 26, and then that'll run into some observation.
For sure. And I will restore your judges as at the first, and your counselors as at the beginning. Afterward, you shall be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city.
So that's the judges at first. So do salvation history. They come up, right? There's the wilderness experience. They come up out of the wilderness into the promised land under Joshua. They have judges. Remember, they don't like the judges. That's why they ask for Saul, so forth. So here, and this is where we are today. So this idea of the wilderness experience is a idea that Yahweh has. This was when there was their first love, right? They're in the wilderness. It's just the Lord and his people. And they he supplies their food, he supplies their the clothing doesn't wear out, the shoes don't wear out. Um that they realize, which we all are, but some of us don't realize it, we don't realize it all the time, just how utterly dependent we are for our survival. But those people did in that place and in that time. They didn't have a temple, right? They have a tent, they have the tabernacle, they have the tent of meetings coming around. Um, and they have manna and the quail, water from the rock, right? They have those things. But that's what he's talking about here. I will restore your judges as at the first, and your counselors as at the beginning. And afterward you should be called the city of righteousness and faithful people. So then after 40 years of that purification in the wilderness, when the report came back with Joshua and the spies that, hey, Jericho looks like this, there was no gold, they just marched in and took it. They were different people after 40 years.
Yeah. You had a real dependency.
Yes.
All right. So, verse 27. Zion shall be redeemed by justice, and those in her who repent by righteousness. But rebels and sinners shall be broken together, and those who forsake the Lord shall be consumed. For they shall be ashamed of the oaks that you desired, and you shall blush for the gardens that you have chosen. For you shall be like an oak whose leaf withers, and like a garden without water. And the strong shall become tinder, and his work a spark, and both of them shall burn together, with none to quench them.
That is the covenant curse.
Mm.
It's tough. It's tough to hear.
But I love that you mentioned the idea of the covenant lawsuit, because it made me think of how Jesus is the judge, and how we are all in this broken lawsuit of the covenant, just by being born into sin. And then just I think about it all the time because my wife and I are going through Exodus right now, and we just read about the golden calf. And just in thinking of all the law and how it was so easy to be broken, and these false gods, and just the way that even in this first chapter, how Isaiah is talking about the way they worship, inauthentically. And despite all of our shortcomings and failures, because of Jesus, this righteousness and this fact that we can be called a faithful city, that applies to us now as well, because of Jesus as our judge and him coming to clothe us with his righteousness.
That's right. He does. He makes the satisfaction,
Mm,
right? There's got to be a satisfaction, and he makes that satisfaction for us, humanity, because we can't, right?
right.
We broke with divinity, that the infinite, and we're finite, and that whole thing. So he does make restitution for us. So I will say I have a quip. Um, I heard it from someone else, I'm sure much wiser than me. He said, "Our salvation is free, but it's not cheap."
Mm,
And I sometimes I get kind of wheezy even about free, because it does cost. It costs us ourselves. It costs us our desire to follow God's way and not our own way, which can lead us into these very uh, right dark places. And the strong shall become tender, and his work a spark, and both of them shall burn together with none to quench them. Is that not really what happens to the evildoers ultimately in perdition? That
right.
is that is the lot, and their hell become they get the preview of that while on earth.
Mm,
Right? Hell on earth.
yeah.
It's kind of a preview.
Yeah.
But Jesus does give a way. He gives us a way out.
Mm, yeah. I love that in verse 5, it asks, "Why will you still be struck down? Why will you continue to rebel?" And it just makes me think of how often this this hell and hardship is so often brought on by ourselves when we have been given a way out. You
We
know,
have been.
we forget.
Yes. Yes. And you were wise to, we studied Proverbs.
Mm, right.
Right? A lot of what we blame on our blessed Lord is really
Yeah,
of our own making.
absolutely.
Yes. Yes. So do we have, yes.
Makes
Um,
me quote Isaiah and say, "Woe is me."
Woe
Yeah,
is me. I'm a sinful man and I live amongst a sinful people.
yeah,
And I know we talked a little bit, took the coal and put it to his lips, and my opinion, speculation, thoughts, is I thought that that would probably be a painful experience.
right,
And the seared lips would kind of be a reminder of the cost,
right.
right? The cost. Um, so as we read these books and we read particularly this prophet, which was 2,500 years ago, keep in mind our own covenant with the Lord, right? We entered into covenant at our baptism. Baptismal promises were made for us. And if we have confirmation, we again enter into those baptismal promises. We got married and we enacted an oath, a covenant within that. Again, we make promises. I mean, military, they take oaths. Judges take oaths. Doctors used to take oaths. Some, the good ones still do. This good one,
Right.
some still do. But that used to be a thing. The
Mhm.
Hippocratic. I've talked about the Hippocratic Oath. Um, and then, yes, the Lord is ever ready to forgive, but we must ask. He will never force his will onto us. And here's the thing, even if it's for our own good.
Right. Then it's not real love.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
not love. And so I make the exhortation to you, take the reading to prayer and ask him, where have you broken covenant with him?
Mm,
And have him help you to do that which is right, and which is in fulfillment of those great promises you made.
yeah.
And if you ask sincerely, believe you me, he will tell you.
Hmm. Yeah. I love the hope that comes through when he talks about I'll make your sin as white as snow. Because amidst all of this calling out and condemnation, this prosecution, there's still the reminder of God's righteousness and justice, and how through Jesus our sin can be made white as snow.
And this this hard purification they're about to go through isn't just willy-nilly.
Right.
Isn't just pain for the sake of pain. It's going through the suffering so as to come out on the other side bigger and better, if you will, or holier,
Right.
holier, with the Lord as our first love.
So good.
Anything else?
I don't think so. Yeah, I'm just thankful to be doing this.
I'm very thankful. All right, my friends, that is chapter 1. I know there was some verses we could have lingered over, and I think as we progress through the book, we'll pick up some of those concepts. Till then, Fide Sriracha.